Welcome back, dear listener. Or if this is your first time joining me, welcome. Find yourself a comfortable place. Perhaps you're in bed already. Perhaps settling into your favorite chair. Wherever you are, let yourself relax. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breathing slow. Tonight, we're going on a very special journey. A final journey. The last flight of an aircraft that served faithfully for more than 25 years. Subscribe for weekly aviation and space sleep stories. Like this video if it helped you sleep, and share your thoughts in the comments below. This is the story of Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha, the aircraft registration that belonged to a Boeing 747-400. Qantas named her City of Canberra. She was special from the very beginning. The first 747-400 delivered to Qantas, the flagship of the fleet, and for a quarter century, she carried millions of people safely across oceans, connected families, made the vast distances of our world just a little bit smaller. Tonight is October 2015, and Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha is about to make her final flight from Sydney, where she's been based for all these years, to Los Angeles. One last time across the Pacific she's crossed thousands of times before, and then a short hop inland to the Mojave Desert to rest. But this isn't a sad story. It's a story of purpose fulfilled, of service completed, of a life well lived. So breathe easy. Let yourself drift along on this journey, and perhaps by the end, you'll drift peacefully into sleep. We begin in the quiet hours before dawn, in a hangar at Sydney's Kingsford Smith International Airport, where Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha is awakening for the very last time. The hangar is dark, but not completely dark. Never completely dark. There are always lights. Distant lights from the active terminals. Security lights casting long shadows. The soft glow from the instruments inside the cockpit. I've spent so many nights in this hangar. Thousands of nights. After the day's flying is done. After the passengers have departed. After the crew has gone home. The maintenance team brings us here. To rest. To be serviced. To be made ready for tomorrow. But there won't be a tomorrow. Not here. Not like this. This is the final morning. I've known for weeks. The decision was made at levels far above airport operations. Fleet planning. Economics. Efficiency. The newer aircraft are more fuel efficient. Quieter. The world is changing, and I'm part of a previous generation. The 747-400 is being retired from passenger service. One by one, go to storage. Some to be preserved, some eventually to be scrapped. But that's not for me to decide. The hangar door begins to open. The electric motor hums. The massive door slides on its track. Fresh air flows in. The smell of the ocean. Sydney sits on a harbor, and even here at the airport, you can smell the salt, the eucalyptus from distant trees, the particular scent of Sydney at dawn. I've breathed this air for 26 years, since August 1989, when I first arrived. Brand new, fresh from the factory, full of possibility. The maintenance crew arrives. I can hear their footsteps, their voices, low, respectful. They've worked on me for years. Some of them. They know every panel, every system. They know my quirks. The hydraulic actuator that runs slightly warm. The galley water heater that needs extra time to reach temperature. The cargo door that requires particular care when latching. They've kept me flying, kept me safe, kept me worthy of the trust that passengers placed in me every time they boarded. One of them places his hand on the fuselage, just below the cockpit window. I can feel the warmth of his palm through the aluminum skin. "Goodbye, old girl," he says quietly. His voice catches. This is harder for them than they expected. They knew this day was coming. But knowing and experiencing are different things. They've developed a relationship with me. Not in words, obviously. Aircraft don't speak. But in care, in attention, in the hours spent ensuring every system works perfectly. The walk-around begins. The final pre-flight inspection. The supervisor walks slowly around my perimeter, checking the wheels. 18 wheels that have touched down on runways around the world. London, Los Angeles, Singapore, Bangkok, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Auckland. So many cities. The tires are in good condition. Changed recently. Even for this final flight, standards are maintained. Everything must be perfect. Everything must be safe. He checks the engines. 4 Rolls-Royce or B211 engines. Massive, powerful, each one capable of producing 60,000 pounds of thrust. Together, they've carried me and my passengers through calm air and through storms, through smooth climbs and through turbulence. They've never failed me. Not once. Regular maintenance, careful operation, respect for the machinery. These things matter. These things make the difference between reliable service and failure. The inspection continues. Leading edges, trailing edges, control surfaces, flaps, ailerons, rudder, elevators. Everything moves freely. Everything is secure. The fuel panels are checked. The doors are checked. The emergency equipment is verified. Even though this is the last flight, even though there will be no passengers aboard for the final leg to Mojave, standards are not compromised. This is the way it should be. This is the way it has always been. Professionalism, integrity, pride in the work. The pre-flight walk-around triggers something. A memory, or perhaps more accurately, an awakening to my earliest moments of consciousness. If an aircraft can be said to have consciousness, perhaps we don't. Perhaps we're simply machines. But if we do, mine began in a very different place, in a much larger building, in Everett, Washington, at the Boeing assembly facility, where all 747s are born. It was early 1989. I was coming together piece by piece, section by section. The forward fuselage, the mid-fuselage, the aft fuselage, the wings, the tail, each component arriving from different parts of the factory, different suppliers, all converging in the final assembly building, the largest building in the world by volume, so large it has its own weather, so large that when you stand inside, it feels like you could fit several city blocks under one roof. My first moments of awareness came when the electrical systems were powered up for the first time. The avionics bay came alive, computers booting, screens glowing, the glass cockpit displays flickering to life. It was like opening your eyes for the first time, seeing, processing, understanding. The flight management computers initialized. The air data computers began their self-tests. The inertial reference systems aligned. Everything checking in. Everything reporting ready. The engineers were excited. I could sense it in their voices, in the way they moved around the cockpit, running through checklist after checklist, verifying systems, testing controls. This was a 747-400, the newest variant, the most advanced, extended range, glass cockpit, reduced crew requirement, just 2 pilots instead of 3. The flight engineers station eliminated, computers handling functions that previously required a human operator. Progress, evolution, the future arriving. Over weeks, I was completed, the interior installed, seats, galleys, lavatories, overhead bins, reading lights, call buttons, every detail attended to. Qantas had specified their particular configuration: business class forward, premium economy, economy through the main cabin and upper deck, their color schemes, their branding, their standards. I was being built for them, for their routes, for their passengers, for their vision of connecting Australia to the world. The painting came near the end, rolling out a final assembly into the paint hanger. The primer first, then the white base coat, then the details, the red tail, the Qantas kangaroo, the Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha registration on the rear fuselage, City of Canberra written beneath the cockpit windows. I was becoming myself, taking on identity, becoming specific rather than generic, becoming this particular aircraft rather than just another 747. Then came the test flights, the shakedown period, the validation that everything worked as designed, as specified, as promised. Boeing test pilots took me up, out over the waters of Puget Sound, over the forests, over the mountains. We climbed to altitude. We tested the systems at cruise. We descended. We tested the systems at low altitude. We conducted engine-out procedures, emergency descents, everything that might be needed, everything that might save lives someday. The pilots were thorough, professional. They knew what was at stake. They knew that their testing would determine whether I was worthy of carrying hundreds of passengers across oceans. I passed every test. Every system performed within specifications. The engines ran smoothly. The flight controls responded precisely. The pressurization maintained cabin altitude perfectly. The navigation systems guided accurately. The landing gear extended and retracted reliably. Everything worked. Everything was right. I was certified, ready, approved for delivery to Qantas. The delivery day arrived in August 1989. A ceremony at Boeing Field in Seattle. Qantas executives flew in from Australia. Boeing representatives were there. The media. Photographers. This was significant. The first 747-400 for Qantas. The beginning of a new era for their long-haul fleet. Speeches were made. Champagne was opened, though not on board, of course. The formalities completed. And then the ferry flight. The delivery flight. The journey that would take me home. To Australia. To Sydney. To the place where I would be based for the rest of my operational life. The ferry crew boarded. Captain. First officer. Flight engineer. Yes. Even though I didn't need one for normal operations, regulations required one for ferry flights. They settled into the cockpit, ran through their procedures, contacted clearance delivery, filed the flight plan. Seattle to Honolulu. First leg. Over the Northern Pacific. My first real journey. My first purposeful flight. Not testing. Not validation. But transportation. Movement. Going somewhere. We pushed back from the gate at Boeing Field. A special moment. The beginning of service. The beginning of purpose. The tug pulled us back. The tow bar disconnected. The ground crew gave the salute. We were on our own. I started the auxiliary power unit. The APU wound up, providing power, providing air for the engine start. The captain called for engine start. Number 4 first, then 3, then 2, then 1. All 4 engines running. All 4 operating within parameters. Smooth. Powerful. Ready. Taxi clearance received. We moved forward under our own power for the first time in our operational life. Following the taxiway to the runway, other aircraft paused, gave way. This was a delivery flight, a special occasion. There's an unwritten courtesy in aviation, a respect for new aircraft, for aircraft beginning their journey. We reached the runway threshold, lined up, waiting for takeoff clearance. Qantas ferry cleared for takeoff. The words came through the headset. The captain advanced the throttles. All 4 engines responded. Power building, the roar increasing. We accelerated down the runway. Faster, faster, the airspeed increasing. 60 knots, 80 knots, 100 knots. V1 decision speed, past the point of aborting. Committed now. VR rotation speed. The captain pulled back gently on the control column. The nose lifted. The main gear still on the runway. Still rolling. Then lighter. Lighter. And then free. Airborne. Flying. The wheels leaving the ground. The main gear lifting off the pavement. We were flying. I was flying. For the first time with purpose. For the first time toward a destination. Seattle fell away below. The waters of Puget Sound. The islands. The mountains to the east. Snow-capped even in August. We climbed. Higher. Through 10,000 feet. Through 20,000. Through 30,000. Leveling at cruise altitude. Flight level 350. 35,000 feet. The autopilot engaged. The flight management system guiding. We turned west. Out over the Pacific. Toward Hawaii. Toward the crossing. My first ocean crossing. The flight was peaceful. The aircraft performed beautifully. Every system worked perfectly. The engines burned fuel at the predicted rate. The autopilot held course precisely. The cabin pressurization maintained exactly the right altitude. Everything as it should be. The ferry crew relaxed, confident, trusting. This was a good aircraft. This was a reliable aircraft. This was an aircraft that would serve well. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. And then ahead, the Hawaiian Islands appeared, green against the blue. Volcanic. Beautiful. We descended. Configured for landing. Gear down. Flaps extended. Approach to Honolulu. The first landing of my operational life. The captain flew it manually, feeling the aircraft, getting to know me, learning my characteristics. Every aircraft is slightly different, slightly individual. Even when built to the same specifications, there are tolerances, variations, personalities, if you will. He was learning mine. The touchdown was smooth, gentle. The main gear kissed the runway. The nose gear settled. Reverse thrust engaged. We slowed, turned off the runway, taxied to the gate. Shutdown, refueling, rest. The second leg would come tomorrow. Honolulu to Fiji, and then Fiji to Sydney, to home, to the place where my service would truly begin. The memory fades. I'm back in Sydney, back in the present, back on this final morning. The fuel truck is approaching. I can hear its diesel engine, the distinctive sound of the heavy vehicle moving across the tarmac. It positions alongside my wing. The fueler dismounts, connects the grounding cable first, always first, preventing static discharge, preventing spark, preventing disaster. These procedures matter. These protocols save lives. The fuel begins flowing. I can feel it, the weight increasing, the fuel entering the wing tanks. Center tank, reserve tanks, each tank feeding to the engines, each tank with its own pumps, its own sensors, its own management system. For this flight, I'm being fully fueled. The flight to Los Angeles is long, 11 hours, 12 hours, depending on winds, depending on routing, depending on altitude. Better to carry extra fuel, better to have reserves, better to be conservative. The fueling takes time, thousands of gallons pumping slowly, carefully, monitored. The gauges in the cockpit would show the levels rising. If someone were watching, if the systems were powered. But that will come soon. The flight crew will arrive soon, and they will begin their pre-flight, their preparation, their ritual of ensuring everything is ready, everything is safe, everything is as it should be. The sun is rising now, the sky lightening, pink, orange, gold, Sydney's dawn, the harbor catching the first light, the opera house somewhere in the distance, the bridge spanning the water, the city waking, the airport coming fully alive. Other aircraft are preparing for departure, the first domestic flights, the early international departures. The world is moving, the world is connecting, and I'm about to move with it. One last time. A car pulls up outside the hangar. Doors open. Voices. The flight crew. The captain. The first officer. They've been chosen specially. Selected for this flight. Experienced. Senior. Trusted with this final journey. They understand what it means. What it represents. They enter the hangar. Pause. Look at me. There's something in their faces. Respect. Perhaps a touch of sadness. They've flown this aircraft before. Many times. They know this tail number. They know this particular 747. And they know this is goodbye. They board through the forward door. Left side. The main passenger door. But no passengers today. Not on this leg. The cabin is empty. Seats vacant. Overhead bins closed. Quiet. Strange. I've spent my entire life carrying people. Hundreds per flight. Thousands per month. Millions over the years. And now, this vast cabin echoes with emptiness. It feels wrong, but also somehow appropriate. This final journey is mine, not theirs. My transition, my ending, my rest. The crew settles into the cockpit, the captain's seat, the first officer's seat. They begin their flows. The memorized sequences. Switch positions. Check positions. Confirming configurations. The overhead panel. The main instrument panel. The center pedestal. Every switch has a correct position. Every system has a proper state. They work through it methodically. Professionally. This is what they do. This is what they've always done. External power is connected. The ground power unit providing electricity. The systems begin powering up. Screens illuminating. Computers booting. The aircraft awakening fully. The flight management system initializing. The navigation systems aligning. I can feel myself coming alive. Ready. Prepared. One final time. The engines start. One at a time. Number 4. The starter motor engaging. The fan blades beginning to turn. Fuel flowing. Igniter sparking. The engine catching. Spooling up. Stabilizing. Then number 3. Then 2. Then 1. All 4 engines running. All 4 showing normal indications. Temperature. Pressure. Speed. Everything within limits. Everything ready. The ground crew is standing by. Ready for pushback. But the captain has requested permission to taxi under our own power. Slowly. Deliberately. No pushback. Just a gentle power-up. A slow turn. An exit from a hangar under our own thrust. It's approved. It's allowed. This is special. This is the last time. The captain adds power gently. Just a touch. Just enough. We begin moving. Rolling forward. Out of the hangar. Into the morning light. The sunrise is full now. Beautiful. The sky is blue. A few clouds scattered. Perfect flying weather. Perfect conditions. As if the world is honoring this moment. This farewell. We taxi slowly. Past the maintenance hangars. Past the terminals. Past gates where other Qantas aircraft are parked. A 737. An A330. The newer aircraft. The future. They'll continue. They'll serve. They'll carry passengers for years to come. But not us. Not anymore. We're passing them now. Moving toward the runway. Moving toward departure. The tower controller's voice comes through. Respectful. Warm. Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha. This is Sydney Tower. We've been honored to have you based here for 25 years. Safe flight to Los Angeles and Mojave. You'll be missed. The captain's voice catches slightly as he responds. Thank you, Sydney. The honor has been ours. Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha, ready to taxi. We continue. Past the terminals. Passengers in the windows, waiting for their own flights. They can see us. Some of them might recognize this as something different, something special. An empty 747 taxiing alone. They might wonder. They might guess. They might understand. This is an ending. This is a farewell. This is respect. Runway 34 right. The numbers painted on the threshold. 34. The heading. North-northwest. Out over the ocean. The Pacific stretching ahead. The ocean I've crossed thousands of times. We hold short. Running through the final checks. Flight controls. Check. Flaps. Set for takeoff. Trim. Set. Transponder. On. Lights. On. Everything complete. Everything ready. Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha. Sydney Tower. Runway 34 right. Cleared for takeoff. The final clearance. The final time those words will be spoken for this aircraft. The captain acknowledges, advances the throttles. All 4 engines respond. The power building, the sound increasing, not roaring, not violent, but strong, confident. We roll onto the runway, lining up, center line, straight, the ocean visible ahead, the horizon clear. Full power, the throttles forward, the engines delivering their thrust, the acceleration beginning. We roll, faster, gaining speed, the lights alongside the runway blurring. 60 knots, 80 knots, 100 knots, the speed building. V1, committed. VR, the captain pulls back. The nose rises. The main gear still running, still touching. And then, light, free, airborne. The wheels leave Australian soil. For the last time, forever. We climb, gear retracting, flaps retracting, clean configuration, climbing through 1,000 feet. 2,000, 5,000, banking gently east, out over the water, over Botany Bay, over the Pacific. Sydney falls away below, the harbor, the city, home. 25 years, 25 years of service, of purpose, of connection, and now leaving, not to return. The climb continues, through 10,000 feet, through 20,000. The aircraft is light, no passengers, minimal cargo, just fuel and crew. We climb quickly, efficiently, through 30,000, still climbing, 35,000, level, cruise altitude, the autopilot engaged. The flight management system guiding. Course set, Los Angeles, across the Pacific. One more time. Below, the ocean spreads endlessly. Blue, deep, ancient. I've flown over this water countless times. Always moving, always connecting, always bridging the vast distances between continents, between people, between lives. And now, this final crossing, this last journey over these waters, before the desert, before the silence, before the rest. The Pacific stretches below, endless, blue meeting blue at the horizon, sky and ocean merging in the distance. This is familiar territory. I've flown this route more times than I can calculate. Sydney to Los Angeles, Los Angeles to Sydney, the Great Circle route, following the curve of the Earth, arcing north and east across the widest ocean on the planet. Hours and hours of water, islands scattered like stepping stones, but mostly just water, deep water, ancient water. The autopilot holds course precisely. The flight management system knows exactly where we are. GPS satellites thousands of miles above, triangulating our position to within meters. But in the early days, it was different. Inertial navigation, radio navigation, celestial navigation backup. The technology has evolved, improved, but the route remains the same. The distance remains the same. The Pacific remains the Pacific. I'm thinking about the beginning. Those first years of service. 1989, 1990, 1991, when I was new, when everything was new, fresh from the factory, the newest technology, the pride of the fleet. Passengers would board and comment on the modern cockpit visible from a forward galley, the glass displays, the computers, so different from the oldest 747s, with their analog gauges and mechanical instruments. This was the future. This was progress. My early routes were prestigious. Sydney to London via Singapore, the Kangaroo route, the longest journey, carrying Australians to Europe, carrying Europeans to Australia, the Great Migration route that had existed since the earliest days of aviation, but now faster, more comfortable, more reliable. The 747-400's extended range meant fewer stops, more direct service, less time in transit. The world was shrinking because of aircraft like me. I remember the businessmen, always in suits, always with briefcases, flying to meetings in London, in Frankfurt, in Singapore, before email was ubiquitous, before video conferencing, when business required presence, required travel. They would board confidently, settle into their seats, order drinks, work on laptops the size of thick books with dim screens and limited battery life. The technology they carried was cutting edge then, primitive now. Everything ages. Everything is superseded. I remember the immigrants, families moving from Australia to Britain, from Britain to Australia, carrying their lives in suitcases, nervous, excited, apprehensive, children wide-eyed at the size of the aircraft, parents trying to manage luggage and passports and boarding passes, finding their seats, settling in for the long journey. I carried their hopes, their dreams, their new beginnings. That was sacred. That was profound. That was purpose beyond mere transportation. I remember the honeymooners, young couples starting their lives together, heading to European vacations, to Greek islands, to Italian cities, to French countryside. They would hold hands during takeoff, look out the windows together, share headphones listening to music, sleep leaning against each other. Love emotion. Love carried safely across oceans. How many marriages began with journeys I provided? How many relationships were strengthened by adventures I enabled? The flights themselves were routine, but every routine flight was a miracle of coordination. Air traffic control handing us off from sector to sector. Sydney control, Brisbane control, Oakland Oceanic, Los Angeles control. Each controller tracking us, ensuring separation from other aircraft, ensuring safe passage. We flew airways in the sky, invisible highways thousands of feet above the ocean, specific routes, specific altitudes, all coordinated, all managed, all safe. Weather was always a factor. Storms developing, typhoons spinning. The Pacific generates enormous weather systems. Low pressure, high pressure, convergence zones. I learned to read the weather, to feel it. Turbulence would find me sometimes. Unexpected clear air turbulence. The air would shake. The passengers would gasp. Seatbelt signs illuminated. Flight attendants returning to their seats. But we would fly through. Always through. Never around unless absolutely necessary. Time matters. Fuel matters. Route efficiency matters. I remember smooth flights too. Glass smooth. Not a bump. Not a ripple. The seatbelt sign off for hours. Passengers walking the aisles. Stretching. Visiting the lavatories. Flight attendants serving meals. Drinks. Chatting with passengers. The upper deck was always special. Quieter. More intimate. Business class passengers appreciated the separation, the exclusivity, the curved walls of the 747's distinctive hump. It made the aircraft recognizable anywhere. Iconic. Night flights were peaceful. The cabin lights dimmed, window shades down, passengers sleeping. The flight deck illuminated only by instrument lights. Red, green, white. The stars above brighter than passengers ever saw on the ground. The Milky Way visible as a river of light. Constellations clear. Shooting stars occasionally streaking across the sky. The pilots would point them out to each other. A moment of wonder in the midst of professional routine. I carried celebrities sometimes. Actors, musicians, politicians. They would board quietly, often traveling in first class or business class, seeking privacy, seeking rest. The cabin crew would protect their privacy. Other passengers would sometimes recognize them, but mostly respected their space. Everyone becomes equal at 35,000 feet. Everyone breathes the same pressurized air. Everyone trusts the same wings. Everyone depends on the same engines. The 1990s were good years. strong years. The global economy was growing. Trade was expanding. Tourism was increasing. Airlines were ordering more aircraft. Routes were opening. I flew full flights. Departure after departure. High load factors. Profitable operations. I was earning my keep, justifying the investment Qantas had made, proving the 747-400 was the right choice, the reliable choice, the efficient choice. I developed relationships with the crews, not friendships exactly. Aircraft don't have friends, but familiarity, recognition. Certain captains had their particular ways of flying. Some hand flew more. Some relied more on automation. Some made smoother landings. Some were more conservative with speed. But all were professional. All were competent. All brought me and the passengers home safely. That's what mattered. That's what always mattered. The calendar turned. 1999 became 2000, the millennium. There were fears about Y2K, about computer systems failing, about aircraft falling from sky. But nothing happened. The engineers had prepared, had updated, had tested. The world continued. The flights continued. I continued. Year after year, flight after flight, building experience, building history, building legacy. The 2000s brought changes. The world changed. Aviation changed. On September 11th, 2001, everything shifted. I wasn't in the air that day. I was on the ground in Sydney, being serviced between flights. But we all learned what happened. The attacks, the hijackings, the towers, the Pentagon, the field in Pennsylvania. Aviation was used as a weapon. Our purpose perverted. Our trust violated. The days that followed were strange. All flights in the United States grounded. International flights disrupted. Security heightened. Procedures changed. Passengers nervous. Crews vigilant. But we continued. We had to continue. We couldn't let fear win. We couldn't let terror achieve its purpose. So we flew. We maintained schedules. We carried passengers. We rebuilt trust. Flight by flight, day by day, year by year. Security procedures evolved. Reinforced cockpit doors, cameras, restrictions on what passengers could carry, longer check-in times, more screening, more questions. The ease of travel from the 1990s was replaced with caution, with vigilance. But people still flew, still needed to fly. Business, family, love, adventure. The reasons remained. The need remained. And I served that need. Technology advanced. The aircraft around me became more sophisticated. New models appeared. The Airbus A380, even larger than the 747. The Boeing 777, more efficient on many routes. The 787 Dreamliner, revolutionary materials, revolutionary systems. I watched them arrive, younger, more capable in some ways, but I still had purpose. I still had routes. I still had passengers who trusted me. The international date line was always interesting. That invisible line in the middle of the Pacific where today becomes yesterday or tomorrow becomes today, depending on which direction you're traveling. I crossed it thousands of times. Lost days, gained days. Time becomes flexible when you fly. Passengers would experience jet lag, their bodies confused. But I experienced something else. A continuity, a timelessness. The passage of time measured in flights rather than days. I remember storms, particularly severe storms. Typhoons building south of the route. We would navigate around them. Air traffic control vectoring us, adding miles, adding time, avoiding the most severe weather. I could fly through significant turbulence, built to withstand stresses far beyond what normal operations would produce. But comfort matters. Safety margins matter. Better to go around. Better to arrive slightly late, but smoothly. There were medical emergencies sometimes. A passenger having a heart attack. A woman going into premature labor. A child having a severe allergic reaction. The cabin crew would respond. Flight attendants trained in first aid. Doctors among the passengers, often volunteering. The captain would coordinate, sometimes diverting to the nearest suitable airport. Honolulu, Fiji, anywhere with medical facilities. Lives were saved. On my flights, in my cabin. I was part of that. I enabled that. I'm proud of that. Regular maintenance became more intensive as I aged. More inspections, more part replacements, landing gear overhauls, engine changes, structural inspections, the C checks and D checks, days or weeks in the hangar, engineers examining every detail, every rivet, every wire, every system, finding fatigue, finding wear, replacing, repairing, restoring, keeping me airworthy, keeping me safe, keeping me flying. I knew some aircraft didn't make it. Accidents happened. Mechanical failures, pilot errors, weather, bird strikes, ground collisions. The reasons varied, but the result was the same. Aircraft lost. Passengers lost. Crews lost. I attended memorial services in my own way. Grounded briefly when another aircraft in the fleet was lost. A moment of silence. A recognition of loss. A recommitment to safety. To vigilance. To never becoming complacent. But mostly, the flights were uneventful. In the best possible way. Uneventful means safe. Uneventful means routine. Uneventful means systems working. Procedures followed. Standards maintained. Thousands of uneventful flights are the goal, are the achievement, are the measure of success. Drama is for movies. Reality should be boring, professional, competent, reliable. The passengers evolved too. Laptops became smaller. Then tablets appeared. Then smartphones. Portable DVD players. Noise-canceling headphones. The cabin became quieter as passengers entertained themselves. Less conversation with seatmates. More individual entertainment. The social dynamics of flying changed. But the fundamental experience remained. Taking off, cruising, landing, going from here to there, crossing distance, crossing time, connecting. I developed my own quirks. Every aging aircraft does. the hydraulic system that runs slightly warm, the avionics cooling fan that makes a particular sound, the cargo door that needs specific attention. The maintenance crews knew these things, documented them, worked around them, compensated for them. These weren't failures, just characteristics, personality, the unique features that made me this particular aircraft rather than just a generic 747-400. Routes changed over the years. Some destinations were added, others were dropped. Economics drove decisions, passenger demand, competition, airline strategy. I flew wherever Qantas needed me. Sydney to Los Angeles remained constant, but I also served Sydney to Tokyo, Sydney to Hong Kong, Sydney to Bangkok, regional routes within Asia Pacific, charter flights occasionally. Every route was service. Every flight was purpose. Islands appear below. Small, green, volcanic peaks rising from the blue. Fiji, the island chain that has served as a waypoint for decades. For this route, for this journey, I've passed over Fiji thousands of times, coming and going. Sydney to Los Angeles, Los Angeles to Sydney, always Fiji in between. A marker, a milestone, a reminder that the Pacific, vast as it is, can be measured in islands. This is roughly the halfway point. Hours behind me, hours ahead. The international date line behind. Hawaii ahead. The middle of the crossing. The middle of the ocean. The middle of the journey. It's a good place for reflection, for understanding, for accepting what is happening. I'm thinking about that first crossing, August 1989, fresh from Boeing, shiny and new, uncertain, unproven. Everything ahead was possibility, potential, the unknown future, and the crew was excited, proud, delivering a new aircraft to its home base, the beginning of service, the beginning of everything. Now this crossing is the ending, the last time over this water, the last time past these islands, the last time following this route. Everything is familiar now, known, measured, proven. The uncertainty is gone, but so is the future. This is conclusion, completion, the final chapter. 26 years separating those two crossings. 26 years of service, of flights, of passengers, of purpose. How do I measure that time? In flights, approximately 20,000. In flight hours, approximately 90,000. In passengers carried, millions. The numbers are large, almost incomprehensible, but each one represents something real. Someone's journey, someone's need, someone's trust. I think about the people, individuals whose lives intersected with mine for the duration of a flight. 12 hours, 14 hours, that's all. A brief shared experience. They boarded, they sat, they ate, they slept, they watched movies, they read, they worked, they disembarked. I never knew their names, never knew their stories beyond that brief time, but I carried them safely. Every one. That was my promise. That was my purpose. Business travelers who flew weekly, I would see the same people repeatedly, recognizing them by their routines. The executive who always boarded first and slept immediately. The consultant who worked the entire flight. The sales representative who chatted with flight attendants. They were regulars, familiar faces in the crowd, building their lives, building their careers, and I was part of that, a reliable constant in their variable lives. Families reuniting, that was always touching. Grandparents meeting grandchildren for the first time. Adult children visiting aging parents. Siblings gathering for celebrations. The emotion was visible, palpable. Joy, love, connection. Aviation makes these things possible, makes distance manageable, makes separation temporary. I enabled thousands of reunions, thousands of moments of happiness. I also carried grief, passengers flying home for funerals, for emergencies, for sad obligations. Their faces showed the weight, the worry, the sorrow. But I got them there, quickly, reliably, when minutes mattered, when presence was essential, when being there was the only thing that counted. That service mattered too, perhaps more than the happy journeys. Perhaps those were when I was most needed. What makes a good aircraft? What determines worth? Is it efficiency? Fuel burn per passenger mile? Dispatch reliability? On-time performance? Maintenance costs? These are the metrics airlines use, the numbers that drive decisions. By those measures, I was good, very good. My reliability was high. My costs were acceptable. I earned my keep. I justified continued operation for many years. But there's something beyond metrics, something harder to measure. Trust, confidence, the feeling passengers have when they board, when they settle into their seats, when they trust their lives to wings and engines and systems. I earned that trust, flight after flight, year after year. I never betrayed it, never failed, never let them down. Is that measurable? Is that quantifiable? Perhaps not, but it's real. The Pacific below is the same Pacific that covered the earth when the continents were different, when the mountains were different, when life itself was different. This ocean is ancient, timeless, permanent in a way that aircraft can never be. We're temporary, built to serve, to age, to be replaced. That's appropriate. That's how it should be. Progress requires replacement. Evolution requires succession. I'm thinking about the 747 design itself. How revolutionary it was in 1969, when the first one flew. How it changed aviation, changed the world, made mass long-distance travel possible, affordable, common. Before the 747, crossing oceans was expensive, limited, rare. After the 747, it became routine. That's legacy. That's impact. And I'm part of that lineage, part of that story. One aircraft among thousands, but part of something larger, something significant. The technology that seemed so advanced in 1989 is now outdated. The glass cockpit that impressed passengers is now standard, expected, unremarkable. The computer systems I carry have less processing power, than a modern smartphone. The navigation systems I use are supplemented by GPS that didn't exist when I was designed. Time moves forward, technology advances, but the fundamental purpose remains: getting from here to there, safely, reliably. That doesn't change. I wonder about the passengers I'm not carrying today. This cabin is empty, these seats unused. In a few hours, we'll land in Los Angeles. The final leg to Mojave will also be empty. No passengers, no cargo, just ferry flight, just positioning for storage. It feels wrong. My purpose is to carry, to transport, to connect. Without passengers, I'm not fully myself. But this is appropriate for an ending. The focus is inward. The journey is mine. Fiji is behind now. The islands fading in the distance. Hawaii ahead. Hours ahead. The sun is moving across the sky. Time is passing. The flight continues. Peaceful. Smooth. The engines running perfectly. The systems operating normally. Everything as it should be. Everything as it has been for thousands of flights before. Routine. Professional. Reliable. Until the end. The hours have passed. Peacefully. Steadily. The Pacific behind. The vast crossing complete. One more time. The final time. And now ahead, the coastline appears. California. The American West. Mountains rising from the ocean. Beaches stretching north and south. The termination of this transoceanic journey. The beginning of the descent. I've seen this coastline thousands of times. Always this view. The relief of landfall after hours over water. The confirmation that navigation was precise. That everything was managed properly. Everything safe. As always. Air traffic control comes through. Qantas Ferry, Los Angeles Center. Descend and maintain flight level 280. We begin descending. Gently, gradually, the engines throttling back, the nose lowering slightly, the altitude unwinding, descending through the flight levels, returning to the denser air, returning to Earth. The coastline is clearer now. Santa Barbara below, the Channel Islands offshore, Los Angeles ahead, visible as a haze spreading from the mountains to the sea. I know this terrain. I've flown over it countless times. Memories surface. This approach, this descent. The passengers aboard would be stirring now. If there were passengers, waking from sleep, looking out windows, seeing land. The flight attendants would be preparing the cabin, the familiar choreography of arrival. But not today. Today the cabin is silent, empty, just the crew on the flight deck. I think about the passengers who disembarked here. Los Angeles, gateway to America for so many Australians. Tourists, business travelers, immigrants arriving to start new lives, students heading to universities, all of them passing through this city, and I brought them here, safely, reliably, time after time. The descent continues. Qantas Ferry, contact Los Angeles approach. The frequency change, the vectors beginning, heading changes, altitude assignments being integrated into the arrival flow, the coordination, the precision, the system working as it always has. LAX is one of the busiest airports in the world, aircraft arriving and departing constantly, but today feels different. The tower knows. The controllers know. This is Victor Hotel Oscar, Juliet Alpha's final arrival before retirement. There's respect in their voices, courtesy, recognition. Descending through 20,000 feet. The air is thicker now, warmer. The pressurization system managing the cabin altitude. Even though there are no passengers to experience it, standards are maintained, procedures are followed. This is how it's always been. This is how it ends. I can see the airport now, the runways, the terminals, everything busy, everything active. We're being vectored for the approach. Runway 25 left. The usual arrival runway from the west. Everything set. Everything ready. The landing gear warning sounds. The captain selects gear down. The familiar sound. The vibration. 18 wheels lowering into the airstream. Flaps extending. Configuration changing. We're becoming an aircraft ready to land. Ready to touch down, ready to arrive. The approach continues, descending through 5,000 feet, 4,000, 3,000. The runway is ahead, visible, clear, following the electronic pathway to the runway. Precision, the system's guiding. The crew monitoring. I've landed at LAX more times than I can count. This runway, this approach, day and night, clear and foggy, calm and windy, every condition. I know this runway, everything familiar, everything routine, except this time, this final time, this last arrival. 2,000 feet, passing over the beach, over the airport boundary, the runway threshold approaching, the captain's hands on the controls, flying manually. This final landing, he wants to fly it himself. His hands, his skill, his farewell. 1,000 feet, 500 feet, the ground rising, the runway expanding, the first officer calling altitudes. 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, 50, 40, 30, 20. Contact. The main wheels touch. Gently, smoothly. The weight settling onto the gear. The spoilers deploying, the reverse thrust engaging, the roar, the deceleration, the nose gear lowering, touching, all wheels on the runway. We're down, landed, arrived. The captain cancels reverse thrust. Normal braking now, speed decreasing, slowing, the turnoff ahead. Exiting the runway, turning onto the taxiway, clear of the active runway. The tower calls. Qantas ferry, runway vacated, contact ground point 9. The ground controller's voice is warm. Qantas ferry, welcome to Los Angeles. Taxi to the international terminal, gate 151. And Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha. Thank you for your service. The captain's voice is tight, emotional. Thank you, Los Angeles. Qantas ferry taxiing 151. We taxi slowly, past other aircraft, past terminals, moving through this familiar airport. I've been here so many times, and now one final time, before the next leg, before Mojave, before the end. The parking brake is set. Gate 151. Engines shutting down, one at a time, 4 to 1. The spooling down, the silence that follows. Only the auxiliary power unit running now, providing power, providing air, keeping the aircraft alive while parked. The jetway doesn't extend. There are no passengers to deplane, just an empty aircraft at a gate. The gate agents see us. They know what this is. Some of them come out, stand on the ramp, looking, remembering. This aircraft has served this route for so long, and now they're seeing me for the last time as an operational passenger aircraft. The crew deplanes, down the forward stairs. They'll rest briefly, prepare for the final leg, to Mojave, the short flight, inland, into the desert, to storage, to retirement, but that's still ahead. For now we're here, at LAX, parked, quiet. The fueling truck approaches. One final refueling. Enough for the short flight to Mojave. Not a full load, just adequate. The fueler connects. The weight increases, but not like before. Just enough. Just what's needed. Maintenance comes aboard. A quick inspection, ensuring everything is ready for this final flight. They work quietly, professionally. Some of them have worked on me before. They treat me with care, with respect, with the attention I've always received. The cabin is so empty, row after row of seats. Empty, quiet. This space that was designed for people, for service, now vacant, waiting, but not for passengers. Never again for passengers. This emptiness is permanent. This silence is final. The new flight crew boards, different from the Sydney crew. These are the pilots who will fly the final leg, to Mojave. Experienced, senior, chosen for this task. They enter the cockpit, begin their pre-flight. This will be a short flight, but it will be precise, professional, respectful. Time passes. The refueling completes. The maintenance inspection completes. The flight planning completes. Everything is ready. Clearance is obtained. Mojave. Direct routing. Simple. Short. Final. The auxiliary power unit continues running. I'm ready. The crew is ready. Los Angeles to Mojave. The last flight. The final flight. The end of operational service. The beginning of retirement. Soon. Very soon. It's time. The engines start again. Number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1, all 4 running, but it feels different now. The aircraft is lighter, no passengers, minimal fuel, just enough for this short flight, this final flight, inland to the desert, away from the ocean, away from everything I've known. Pushback from the gate. The tug pulls us, the familiar motion. But this time, we're not heading to the oceanic departure runways. We're heading to a different runway, one that points inland, east, away from the Pacific, away from the water I've crossed thousands of times. This is new. This is different. This is final. The tower clears us for taxi. We move through the airport, past the terminals, one more time, past the international gates where I've parked so many times. The ground crews wave. Some of them, they know, they understand. This is goodbye, not just for today, but forever. Runway 25 right, the inland departure runway. We hold short. The crew completes the final checks. Everything is ready. Everything is correct. The tower calls. Qantas ferry, runway 25 right, cleared for takeoff. Godspeed. Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha. The captain advances the throttles. The engines respond. But the acceleration is different. Faster. We're light. So much lighter than usual. No passengers. No cargo. Just fuel and crew. We accelerate quickly. V1. VR. Rotation. The nose lifts. The main gear leaves the runway. We're airborne. Climbing. But not toward the ocean. Toward the mountains. Toward the desert. Toward the end. The climb is rapid. 10,000 feet comes quickly. We level briefly. The autopilot engaged. Course set. Direct to Mojave. The flight management computer shows the distance. 90 miles. 20 minutes. 25 minutes. That's all. That's all that remains. Los Angeles falls away below. The sprawl. The freeways. The buildings. The density of civilization. We cross the coastal mountains. The San Gabriel Mountains. Rising peaks. Passing underneath. And then ahead the landscape changes. Urban becomes suburban, becomes rural, becomes desert. The transformation is visible, clear, final. The desert spreads below. Mojave Desert, high desert, arid, vast, beautiful in its emptiness, its openness. The land is tan, brown, scattered with creosote bushes. Joshua trees in places, dry lake beds, ancient, timeless. This is where I'm going. This is where I'll rest. Among the silence, among the space, among other aircraft who have also completed their service. I think about purpose. What have I been? A machine, certainly. Metal and composite and systems, but also more than that. A tool, an enabler, a bridge between distant places, between distant people. I've carried millions across oceans, brought families together, enabled business, enabled love, enabled connection. That was my purpose. That was my meaning, and I fulfilled it. Completely. The Mojave Air and Space Port is ahead. I can see it now. The runways, the buildings, and the storage area. Rows of aircraft. Parked. Quiet. Waiting. Boeing 747s. DC-10s. MD-11s. Airlines that no longer exist. Paint fading in the desert sun, but dignified, resting, having served, having completed their purpose. I'll join them soon, very soon. We're descending now, gently, gradually, from 10,000 feet, the desert rising to meet us, the Mojave air and spaceport growing larger, more distinct. I can see individual aircraft now, tails visible, liveries fading. Some I recognize, aircraft I've shared gates with, shared airways with, shared the sky with. They're here, waiting, at rest. I'm thinking about the full circle, from the Boeing factory in Everett to this desert in California, from birth to retirement, from first flight to last flight, from new to aged, from beginning to end. It's complete. The arc is complete. The journey is complete. In Everett I was born, assembled, created, given purpose, given identity. Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha, City of Canberra, the first 747-400 for Qantas. That was significant. That meant something. I carried that identity with pride, with responsibility, with commitment to excellence. The ferry flight to Australia, my first real journey. Seattle to Honolulu, Honolulu to Fiji, Fiji to Sydney, over the Pacific before I truly understood what the Pacific meant, what crossing it thousands of times would mean, what would feel like to know every mile of that route, every waypoint, every frequency, every approach. 26 years of service, the 1990s, the 2000s, into the 2010s. The world changed. Aviation changed. Technology changed. But the fundamental mission remained. Transport people safely. Connect distant places. Enable human connection across vast distances. That mission never changed. That purpose never wavered. I carried every passenger I was entrusted with. Every single one. No accidents. No incidents. No failures. Thousands of flights. Millions of passengers. All delivered safely. All brought home. All cared for. That's the measure of an aircraft. That's the measure of success. And by that measure, I succeeded completely. The 747 itself is legendary, revolutionary. The aircraft that changed everything, made long-distance travel accessible, affordable, common. Before the 747, crossing oceans was rare, expensive, limited. After the 747, it became routine. That's legacy. That's impact. And I'm part of that. One aircraft among thousands of 747s, but part of something larger. Part of aviation history. Technology surpassed me. Newer aircraft are more efficient, quieter, more capable in some ways. The A380, the 787, the 777X. They're the future. They'll serve routes I served. Carry passengers I would have carried. That's appropriate. That's progress. That's how it should be. I don't resent it. I accept it. I embrace it. Every aircraft has a lifespan. We're built to specifications, designed for certain cycles, certain hours, certain years. I exceeded those specifications, flew longer than expected, served more years than planned. That's achievement. That's testament to good engineering, good maintenance, good operation, good care. The crews who flew me, hundreds of pilots, thousands of flight attendants, they trusted me. They relied on me. They knew I would perform, would respond, would bring them home. I never betrayed that trust, never failed them, never let them down. That relationship, that trust, that mutual respect, that meant something. That was real. The maintenance crews who cared for me, who inspected, who repaired, who replaced, who kept me airworthy year after year. Their skill, their dedication, their professionalism, they extended my life, extended my service, extended my purpose. I'm grateful. If an aircraft can feel gratitude, I feel it. And the passengers, the millions of individuals who boarded, who trusted their lives to my wings, to my engines, to my systems, who slept peacefully at 35,000 feet because they trusted I would keep them safe. I did. Every time. Every single time. That was sacred. That was profound. That was everything. The desert below is beautiful in its simplicity. No complexity. No density. Just space. Just silence. Just peace. This is where I'll rest. Among others like me. Aircraft who served. Who completed their missions. Who earned their rest. It's appropriate. It's dignified. It's right. Mojave Airport is close now. Very close. The controller calls. Qantas Ferry, Mojave Tower, runway 30, clear to land. Welcome home. Welcome home. An interesting choice of words, but perhaps accurate. This will be home now. Final home. Permanent home. The place where this journey ends and rest begins. The final approach begins, descending through 3,000 feet, 2,000 feet, the runway ahead, runway 30, pointing north, long wide, designed for aircraft like me, designed for arrivals like this, final arrivals, retirement arrivals. I can see them clearly now. The other aircraft, parked in rows, organized, waiting, some with engines removed, some complete, all at rest, all silent. My future, my destination, my final parking place. It's not sad, it's peaceful, it's earned. The landing gear extends, one last time. The familiar sound, the familiar vibration, 18 wheels lowering into the desert air. The flaps extend, configuration for landing, everything automatic, everything practiced, everything professional, even now, even at the end. 1,000 feet, the ground rising, the runway clear. Captain flying manually, this final landing, this last touchdown, making it count, making it smooth, making it worthy. 500 feet, 400, 300, the call-outs continuing, the approach stable, on glide path, on center line, speed correct, everything correct. Everything right. This is how it should be. This is how it ends. With precision, with skill, with respect. 100 feet, 50 feet, 30 feet, the threshold passing below, the desert rushing past, power coming back, flare beginning, the nose rising slightly, the descent rate decreasing, the main gear approaching the runway, the concrete rising. Contact, the main wheels touch, gentle, smooth, perfect, the weight transfers, the spoilers deploy, the nose gear lowers, touches, all wheels on the ground, the very last landing, complete, accomplished, perfect. No reverse thrust, not needed. The runway is long, very long, normal braking, speed decreasing naturally, slowing, the high desert air, the mountains in the distance, the blue sky, the golden sun, everything beautiful, everything peaceful. We slow to taxi speed, turn off the runway, onto the taxiway, following the marshaller. He's guiding us to the storage area, to the final parking spot, to the place where the engines will shut down for the last time, forever. The marshaller guides us, slowly, precisely, to our spot, among the others, between a retired Northwest 747 and a retired United DC-10. All of us, veterans, all of us, completed our service. All of us, at rest. The marshaller signals. Stop. The captain sets the parking brake. For the last time, the brakes engage. We're stopped. Positioned. Final. Engines shut down. Number 1. The spooling down begins. The sound decreasing. The fan blade slowing. Then silent. Number 2. The same sequence. Slowing. Stopping. Silent. Number 3. Number 4. All engines shut down. All engines stopped. All engines silent. The auxiliary power unit shuts down. The electrical systems begin powering off. Screens dimming. Computers shutting down. Systems going dark. The hydraulic pressure bleeds away. The pneumatic pressure releases. Everything powering down. Everything stopping. Everything ending. Silence. Profound silence. No engines. No systems. No hydraulics. No pneumatics. Just silence. Just stillness. Just peace. The desert wind moves over my wings. Over my fuselage. Over my tail. But inside, silence. Complete silence. The crew exits. Down the forward stairs for the last time. They pause. Look back. The captain touches the fuselage. A final farewell. Then they're gone. Walking away. Leaving me here. Where I'll stay. Where I'll rest. Where my journey ends. The tow vehicle approaches. Attaches. Pulls gently. Moving me to the exact position. Precise. Careful. Respectful. The final movement. The last time I'll move under any power. And then, stillness. Complete stillness. I'm home. The sun is setting. The desert sky turns gold. Then orange. Then pink. The light paints my tail. The red kangaroo. Still proud. Still visible. City of Canberra, Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha. That's who I am. That's who I'll always be. From Seattle's gray skies to Sydney's blue harbor to Mojave's golden desert, the full circle, birth to service to rest, beginning to middle to end, complete, whole, fulfilled. I have no regrets. I served well. I flew safely. I carried millions. I connected people. I enabled journeys. I fulfilled my purpose. Every flight was a gift. Every passenger was a privilege. Every landing was an achievement. I'm satisfied. I'm complete. I'm at peace. The desert is quiet. The mountains are distant. The sky is vast. This is where I'll stay. Among friends. Among colleagues. Among fellow servants who also gave their years, their flights, their service. We're together now. At rest. Honored. Remembered. Sleep now, City of Canberra. Your wings carried millions safely home. Now it's your turn to rest. You've earned it. You've earned this peace. You've earned this quiet. Sleep well. Sleep peacefully. Your journey is complete. And to you, dear listener, may you rest as peacefully as this faithful aircraft. May your service, whatever it is, be as honorable. May your rest, when it comes, be as well deserved. Thank you for flying with me. Thank you for sharing this final journey. Breathe deeply. Rest peacefully. Good night.